Reflection, Chapter 5. Mulan hastily put on her armor and grabbed her sword, that swept aside the tense flap, and went outside to confront whoever, or whatever, was yelling at her. But there was no one. Nothing. The camp was still as before. Even the embers in the fire had died out by now. All was dark, and only the rhythmic wheeze of sleeping soldiers accompanied her. Mulan frowned. She could have sworn she'd heard something, but she must have been wrong. Still, as she turned back to her tent, something rustled in the distance. "There you are," a deep voice rumbled. Mulan immediately whirled and held up her sword. She half expected to see the Huns surrounding the camp, but she was still alone. Or so it seemed. "Stop dawdling." The intruder spoke so loudly he ought to have woken the entire camp, but no one stirred. Did they not hear his thunderous voice? "Are you a soldier or a tombstone? Didn't anyone tell you we're in a hurry?" Mulan ventured out into the camp, following the direction of the voice. She carefully stopped over her sleeping friends, then headed toward a thick tree trunk in the dark corner. "Who's there? Show yourself." The intruder growled. "Show myself. I'm standing right in front of you. Look up." Mulan raised her eyes, then jumped back, startled. Not a tree trunk at all, but an immense stone lion. He was as tall as Khan and as wide as her tent. His round eyes were orange as permissions, and an enormous, elegant jade pendant adorned his neck. He flexed his front paws into the snow, revealing dagger-sharp claws. Mulan brandished her sword and opened her mouth to yell for her fellow soldiers, but the stone lion moved, stepping into the moonlight with one passive paw. She gasped. What are you? Who are you?" "I'm Shi-Shi," the stone lion announced proudly and regally. He peered at her as if waiting for her to look impressed. Mulan remained silent. "I am the guardian of the Li family, responsible for aiding every Li hero for over 20 "So are you here to help Shang?" Mulan interrupted. She glanced back at her tent, where Mushu, her own guardian, was still fast asleep. Shi-Shi frowned. "You didn't expect to do this alone, did you?" He squinted at her, then sniffed with disdain. "No wonder the general sent for me. You're punier than I expected. Small and unpunctual, two worrisome traits in a soldier." Mulan overlooked the insults. Her eyes widened at Shi-Shi's words, and hope flared in her heart. "Shang's father sent you?" "You promised him you would save his son, did you not? I'm here to help you fulfill that promise. Although now I'm beginning to think it's a fruitless quest. You're no match for the underworld." "There's only one way to find out," said Mulan. "Will you take me there?" "Climb on my back," Shi-Shi huffed. "Be careful when you take the braids, and don't pull on my mane." His mane was thick and curly, despite being made of stone. She reached for one of the elaborate braids, then hesitated, wondering whether she should wake Mushu to bring him with her. No, he tried to talk me out of going. He'd say it's too dangerous. Dangerous or not, she made up her mind. She wouldn't let Shang die. Not if there was a chance to save him. "Hurry, little soldier," barked Shi-Shi. "We don't have much time." Mulan grabbed Shi-Shi's braids and settled on his back. Before she could ask another question, Shi-Shi let out a terrible roar. Suddenly the earth gave a terrible quake, and the ground beneath them split. As Mulan jolted back from the tremor, her sword fell out of her grasp and clattered onto the ground. "My sword!" Mulan shouted, trying to jump off Shi-Shi to retrieve it. "Wait, it's my father's!" But the lion couldn't hear her, not as the earth trembled and his roar echoed across the camp. "I hope you have a strong stomach, little soldier," shouted Shi-Shi. Then, without any further warning, Shi-Shi leapt through the hole, and down, down they fell into the depths of Daiyu, the underworld.